Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Shred and Soul.
I'm Shred, aka Kevin Wood.
And I'm Soul, aka Wind Hughes.
Well, I hope you enjoyed last week. We had Skylar Wolf, our grandson and resident sportscaster. That was a lot of fun. Next week, we're going to have Mike Sloat. He's a guitar player and a guitar builder. He's going to come by and we're going to talk guitar, maybe do some playing, showcase the beautiful guitar that he built for me, which was a gift from Win to me on Christmas. And yeah, it should be fun.
And today we have an amazing guest, the wonderful Brian Anthony Orlando, who is a tarot reader and psychic and has a new book out, which is amazing, called Rock and Soul Tarot. And he'll be talking about that book and how he combines music and tarot in the book. He's also a radio host and DJ on a New York radio show, 94.3, right? The Shark, and he does the morning show. So he's a wonderful personality, and here we go. Brian Anthony Orlando. Hey, Brian, we are so glad you're here. We've been looking forward to you coming, and I know that our listeners were too. How are you today? There's a lot going on in your world.
Yeah, it's pretty busy right now. I can't thank you guys enough for having me on and taking some time to talk about the book. So the first thing I just want to say is thank you.
Yeah, of course. And we were talking before we came on about, how feeling a little old. How long has it been since we actually met Brian for the first time?
Yeah, it was, 2011 maybe? We found a picture of you and me sitting in our house at Taos.
On the step, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to post that if that's okay with you, a couple of your pictures.
It was 2011. I have the picture of you and I have the picture holding the trench coat.
This is Andy's trench coat he wore while in the Mother Love Bone. Brian got a kick out of the Love Bone apple in that bottle of wine with Landrew on the label. The two of us, much younger, hanging out in Taos, New Mexico, having a great time.
And I have a picture of us at the restaurant, Orlando's, which was just serendipitous.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you came to interview Kevin. And I remember folks would say, when I'd say, we have a guest coming. Well, who is this guy? I don't know. You haven't met him before? No, we've never met him before. What if he's an axe murderer? He's coming to your house. Like, no, I just had a good hit about this guy. And, talking to you, I don't know if it was the New York thing or the humor or what it was, but we just felt from, first word, just a sense that this guy is good and he'll be in our life and we want him to come to the house. And that was just so much fun.
It was ironic because I was driving to see you guys because I had decided almost 15 years ago now to write a book. And throughout all kinds of chaos in my own life, that book is still, I'm actually looking at files right now on flash drives. That book is still hopefully one day going to be written. But the book that I just wrote has, I hope, opened the floodgates where I could do more of this stuff and finally get to all of those interviews I did with you 15 years ago.
Yeah.
15 years ago. Wow.
Yeah.
So tell us more about the book. It's a fascinating, for me, an introduction to tarot, but you add an aspect of combining the meanings of the cards with popular songs or songs that are meaningful for you, and it really kind of opens the floodgates for me as far as being aware of what's going on with tarot and interpretations.
Well, Rock and Soul Tarot is two things. The first thing it is, and I told you so from my mother, who is a tarot card reader and has been since she was 14 and has been trying to get me involved in this stuff forever, but we don't listen to our parents, so it took a long time. And once I finally embraced this gift, which we all have, it's not my gift, it's a gift from the universe. Once I embraced it, I thought, well, how am I going to talk about this stuff. I don't talk in spiritual language. And even hearing my mother and blessed be and all that stuff, it's like that's not me. It sounds weird and it sounds forced. So I use the one language that I know, which is music. Music is the reason why you and I know each other. It's why I have my closest friends. It's why I have my career as a radio DJ. I know music a lot more than I know anything else, including tarot. So I said, all right, since I was a kid, I've been always explaining things with musical lyrics. Like whatever is going on, break out a song lyric, and that'll drive the point home. So that's what I did in the book.
And I can relate to that. And I love this book. For those of you watching, I want to read you something. I sent your information when I saw that the book was available to a viewer slash friend of ours. And she texted this morning because she knew we were going to do your interview. And she's a tarot reader of decades. And this is what she said briefly. Been binging his podcast because she's waiting for the book. Binging his podcast. They're about 7 to 10 minutes going through the whole deck. It's making cards sync and so much more relatable.
Tell her I said thank you. The book, I hope she enjoys it because it tries to mimic what I do with the podcast. 7 to 10 minutes. Drive the point home,
Yeah.
move on. We don't need to dwell on things. Like this book is 230 pages. I think there's something like 100 chapters. Each of the 78 cards is a chapter, and then there are experiences you can encounter as a tarot reader or a tarot client. What do you do when you're upset? What do you do if somebody's giving you a hard time? And all of those lessons are very short because I don't feel you need to continue to repeat things over and over again. You're going to get it your way. I'm just guiding you along.
One of the things that really struck me is in the pairing of the music is how you describe it. I have so many questions to ask you. I don't know where to start. When I was doing a lot of ritual, which I do all the time, to call Kevin into my life 16 years ago, I hold music as a way to hold the intention because it's the feeling, it's the underlying energy. I picked Rob Thomas, All That I Am, as the lover's card, and to hold the energy of how I want to feel when my beloved arrives. And that's what I feel reading your book and looking at the songs that you picked. And I went through, and I'll mention a few of them in a minute. You take the underlying sort of metaphysical, sacred meaning of these cards, and you go to the feeling, the essence by selecting that song, and that energy resonates out to people. And I thought he's doing with tarot what I've done with ritual, and I just love this guy, and I love that you do this because it captures the meaning so simply.
Thank you. Listen, I tell everybody that I read when they say, I want to know about this and I want to know about that. I say, there is no future. There are only possibilities. I can give you information, and you can never underestimate the human's ability to mess things up. F things up is what I say when it's one-on-one and there's no recording. But the things that we have to get ourselves through and help us make the right decisions, besides our friends, when we're alone, when we're by ourselves, we have music. So with music, we're never alone. And when those messages start coming through with the songs and you're starting to feel a certain way and images come to mind, it can, in a heartbeat, stop you from making a poor decision, stop you from making the worst decision, and guide you into making a good decision. It's all about emotion, and music is one of the best ways in the world to invoke emotion. And again, that's also what I'm trying to show in everyday life.
You do show it. Just so you know, from this side of the book and your podcast, trying, no, you do it. You accomplish it. Your intention that you set out with this, I think you've beautifully done. Some of the cards I picked, I was looking at this, there's so many, there's no way I could remember them. I don't know how you could possibly, I'm sure you don't remember them all. But the Tower, you picked Queens, the show must go on. Awesome.
So what happened with that was I was going through a really cocky transition in my life. I had just gone through a separation, and the marriage just kind of fizzled out. There was no big fight. There was no production. It was just, we're done. And I started to feel fantastic after that because I was experiencing change and I just felt more freedom. And I started to make decisions that weren't my proudest moments. And I started to date a married woman. And during that time, I had written a song and it was my first ever. And I got my favorite musicians to sing on that song. And it was like a dream come true. And I got one of my good friends, who's a former professional wrestler, to appear and star in the music video. So now I'm getting all cocky. I fly out to California. Things are great. The engineer says, this song is so good, I'm not even going to charge you. Life is great. 2 weeks before the music video was supposed to come out, which was a benefit in PSA for suicide prevention, my friend took her own life. Shattered the entire idea, shattered my heart, shattered the world's heart. And from there, a million things happened. The married woman broke up with me over text. My apartment flooded. It's like everything that I thought was going great in one fell swoop fell apart. And with the tower, even though everything's crumbling, the idea behind it is you should have seen this coming. You should have made a move. This isn't a bad move. It's a good move, but it's going to hurt right now because you didn't make it when you were supposed to. So here I am, the universe, making it for you. I wasn't supposed to be doing any of the things I was doing at the time. And the universe decided it's going to show me exactly what I need to do. I had no business. It wasn't even just the fact that the woman was unavailable. I had no business getting involved with anyone, minutes after a marriage. And I shouldn't have been staying at that house because there were too many bad memories and all this other stuff. So when Ashley passed, I didn't know what to do or what to say. And I had to do the show the next day. So at 6 o'clock in the morning, news now broke because she was a massive public figure. She was a WWE superstar. She was an actress. She was on Survivor. Like, she wasn't just a radio jock. She was an international beloved figure. So I picked the song that we never played on the Shark before, Show Must Go On by Queen. And I had to relate to my listeners who were hurting. I had to relate to my coworkers that were hurting, that we can't just stop. The FCC frowns upon dead air. We have to do something. We have to get through this day. So while my life was falling apart and the lives of everybody in her world were falling apart, I decided to play a song to encourage us to keep going. And that's where Show Must Go On came from, in the tower.
Yeah. A great pick. I love in your book how you're so positive of, um, you know, there's a rune stone. Before I got into tarot, I did a lot of I Ching and the runes, which are a Nordic oracle for divination. And there's one like that, spacing on the name, but it's you're put on notice. And it's I should have known stuff's happening. You're put on notice to pay attention. And the tower's like that. And you're always positive about how we move out of those times and allowing the cards, in a sense, to just nudge us or speak to a place in us where we already know, but maybe we're not consciously allowing it to come forth. Another one, the Ace of Cups. You have Springsteen, Leap of Faith. I liked that choice. Do you remember how that one came to be?
When I was a young teenager, that came out in 91, 92, so that would put me at about 14. I was already a Springsteen fanatic. And I knew that at the time when he broke up the E Street Band, it looked grim. It looked like I would never get a chance to see Clarence. It looked like I would never get a chance to see my favorite band. And I tried so hard to like the music, to like the new band, to get into what he was doing. And I'm thinking, this sucks. I want Clarence back. I want everybody back. But even at 14, I understood that the guy had been doing what he was doing for 20 years at the time, and he was just looking for a fresh start. He was just looking for
Mm.
something new. I mean, to break up the biggest band in the world seemed like commercial suicide, and yet he was doing it. And the one song off of the two albums that I gravitated towards at 14 was Leap of Faith. And any time in my life I took a big risk, I would play the song and think, all right, Bruce, I stuck with you when you did it. I'm going to stick with myself when I do it.
I love it.
Hmm.
Love it. One
So,
more song. Can I do it?
yeah.
One more song. Um, Temperance Card. I was telling Kevin there was a time, I haven't done a spread for myself in a long time, but there was a time when no matter where, what, when I did a spread, that damn card came up. And it was damn card for me because I was like the horse in the stable ready to go on a few things, people in my life, some events. And that card kept telling me balance, like slow down, keep the balance, some moderation in things when I wanted to go full on with things that weren't necessarily the healthiest. And that card was a great reminder to me. And I like that you have Depeche Mode song, Get the Balance Right for that one.
Yeah, it was a song that I actually picked while I was teaching. I didn't know the song. I wasn't really big into the new wave, and I was looking for something that just fit. And when I read the lyrics, honestly, I cheated. I used a Google search. Google, tell me songs, what are some rock songs that depict balance? And it came up. And when I read the lyrics, I thought that's exactly what the card is. You
Mm-hmm.
know, when I've always struggled with my weight growing up, and in the past, if I gorge myself one day, I'd starve myself the next. And you're always doing this yo-yo. And I mean, I'm like that with everything. If I drank too much one weekend, I'm never drinking again. And then I don't drink for so long that I have another crazy weekend. And the whole point of temperance is to not yo-yo, but to just go back to the middle. You messed up, you went too far in one direction, you don't have to go all the way in the other direction. Just go back to the middle. That's all. And that's why that Depeche Mode song was perfect.
It's a great song. I love your selections. No, I'm sorry. I know you had something you were going to say.
I was just going to comment that, your job, disc jockey, you have a lot of power. You can give people basically an outline for the moments of their day while they're listening. And you know how it is with music, it resonates with you. If you hear something during the day, it'll come back in your memory later on, or maybe the next day. But I'm appreciating what you do and knowing that you have such an intense and intimate knowledge of what these songs mean and how they affect people that I'm just
Yeah.
giving you the tip of the hat to say, well, job well done.
In 1995, when I got my copy of Return to Olympus and I heard Winter Bites for the first time, and I heard that tone set with the guitar, and I heard your brother go, "The world's my woman, babe." I won't sing too much. I want people to watch this, but you know, that line about the world and your relationship with the universe and how tumultuous it could be or how beautiful it could be based on how you treat it, not the other way around,
Mm.
stuck with me. And I would put it on from time to time when I needed to be reminded that I'm here serving the universe, not the other way around. Nobody owes me anything. And for somebody like you, who has always been a messenger to me to keep my act together, and that resonated with me forever, still does. I hope every day that I say something on the air, even if it's a dumb dad joke, even if it's why does my phone keep calling me Shirley? Oh, it's on airplane mode. Even if it's something that you're just going to go home and and laugh at, you know, then I've done my job for the day. I made a connection. That's all we're all trying to do is connect.
Hmm. Yeah, that song is particularly good in that it does have a lot of emotional weight to it. But Yeah, another song that you pointed out in your book was Changes by Black Sabbath
Mm,
for the Death Card, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I just thought that was so apropos to to what's going on, especially since we've just lost Ozzy. And I mean, that's a huge change. And but I was wondering about the inverse of the Death Card being more like a resistance to change, because we do tend to resist change, especially if it's a painful change. I was trying to think of a song that would represent the inverse of the Death Card.
You're talking about what would happen if the card comes up upside down.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny you say that, Kevin, because the next book is going to be Rock and Soul. Well, the third book is going to be Rock and Soul Tarot, the reversals, and the cover is going to be this,
Oh,
but upside
Oh,
down.
cool.
awesome.
And I do teach the reversals, and I don't remember exactly what my textbook definition is, but the resistance to change in your tarot world, in my students' tarot world, will be whatever the music is that you grew up with.
Mhm.
Like you guys were big Kiss fans. I cannot stand the band. It could be a Kiss song for you as a resistance to change. It could be a Candlebox song for me because they're one of my favorite bands. It could be another Springsteen song, who I think is represented in the book like 7 times. Once I read back, I'm like, this is a little, I'm speaking of Temperance Wind, this is a little unbalanced.
Hmm.
But I don't know, let's do this together. Resistance to change songs. I mean, that could be something like the Scorpions' Wind of Change calling you to change,
Mhm.
calling you to take something, to follow the Berlin Wall, the end of communism, something so impactful. And death comes up upside down, and you know that it's wrong, and you know that you've been living in a bad pattern, in a false pattern for too long. And then you start to hear, and then that riff to wind to change comes on, and that to me could be exactly what Death in Reverse is trying to tell you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Stop resisting.
I think of, see how it's so personal. I think of, I love Rob Thomas, a Rob Thomas song. And what is the title? You might know. He talks about how he doesn't know how to get old. He doesn't want to get old, doesn't want to lose his parents. He knows how to do young. And it's this emotional song about that resistance to loss and aging and his parents. And it's just so poetically conveyed. But I think of that, like that resistance to getting older and the loss and
I think,
losing people.
resistance to change is probably more painful than just accepting change. And change can be painful uh, in I think, in the way that we see it with the tarot readings. But I was thinking, the song She's Gone off of Technical Ecstasy,
Yep.
that is just a tearing,
Mm.
just gut wrenching, kind of the same. But maybe what I got from that song was that it was more of like, I can't accept what is going on. Whereas Changes is like, okay, this is the story, this happened. But that song, She's Gone, is more like devastating.
Yeah.
I can't handle this. She was going to be my wife. This was all going
Yep.
to happen, and then it's gone. She's gone. And so I think it talks
Underrated
about,
album, underrated song. We played it during the Deep Cuts Ozzy weekend last week. It is so haunting. But one of the things that I teach students in readings is, as the person's talking, pay attention to what they're saying, pay attention to visions. Wind, as you were talking about Rob Thomas, and Kevin had just mentioned Death in Reverse, there's a song, and it's so mournful. And honestly, I'm not comparing Rob Thomas to Ozzy, but it has a similar haunting melody to the vocals that sets the tone for what we're dealing with. Before Rob Thomas was in Matchbox 20, he was in a band called Tabitha's Secret. And there's a song called Here Comes Horses. And if you listen to what he's saying in that song, I'm blanking on the spot. Tell me, if you don't mind. There is such a resistance to getting older in that song, and such a resistance to dealing with He's still in the same town. He's lonely. The local hero is a guy at the local bar and he's stuck. That would be a great death in reverse card.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Rob Thomas.
Yeah.
A personal question. Um, you talk in your book a lot, and I've heard you in other interviews talk about your mom and growing up sitting on the couch while her clients were sitting there, and you're hysterical when you talk about this personal stuff in your book. And I love that you're cussing all over the place and just being so candid. And you talk about how you just thought some of it was just bullshit and these people coming and this was nonsense and they'd be coming for the next reading and they relied on it. And yet you and your mom weren't always that close around this. So I'm wondering, thinking of your mom being there doing these readings and being psychic and you growing up in this, pushing it away like we often do with our parents, what we've learned, and then coming back at this point in life, has it, and if so, how has it changed your relationship with your mother?
It definitely gave us more to talk about. It definitely gave us more to say. Like she'll call me every once in a while and ask me a question. I never realized why my mother was so neurotic. I just thought it was growing up Italian on Long Island. I didn't realize that there were constant thoughts going through her head that weren't even necessarily her own. And when she was getting ready for these readings, she was nervous. And as she gets older, she gets even more nervous and she drives herself into a frenzy. And once I became conscious of it, I thought, how ridiculous is this? Why would you want to put yourself through this? Now I read and now I have events coming up and I'm driving myself in a frenzy and I'm nervous as hell and I'm making myself a wreck and I understand it better. And I think the most important thing is it's almost as if I've learned my mother's language. I've learned how to speak mom because of this. And that's helped tremendously. I don't think it's ever going to be smooth. If I ever called her and she said everything's wonderful, I would be worried. But it helps us understand why we don't always get along so well. We're both Geminis. She's June 13th, I'm June 16th.
So there's a crowd when you two get together.
It's a party.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And I think as we get older, we do find that common language. So I had one more question. I know you're on a tight schedule today. You have more interviews coming up. So I
Yeah,
wanted
but talking to you guys is awesome and calming. So I got this.
okay, good. Um, when I first started doing tarot, I used, the traditional rider deck,
Mhm.
which is kind of what everybody used for the most part. And then I got turned on to the Aleister Crowley Thoth deck. And I was amazed at how many people just kind of did this to that deck because they saw him as an occultist and being. I love Aleister Crowley and my Aussie dude, right? Mr. Crowley, that song is amazing. And, he was fascinated by him as well. And I really like the Aleister Crowley deck. And I like it taps into a lot of Egyptian mythology and more of the occult metaphysical stuff in the pictures are more that way. And everyone has their deck that they're drawn to. And for me, it kind of flipped back and forth. What deck do you use?
I have a Hanson and Roberts deck from 1985.
Hmm.
She passed away in 2020, actually, without trying to mess up the aesthetic. Uh, this is one of the decks I use.
Hmm.
When she passed away, it was during COVID. So unfortunately, there was too much stuff going on. It didn't really get a lot of attention. But she was commissioned. Funny, I pulled the Tower card as we were talking about it.
Wow.
And she was commissioned to do a more modern version of the Rider Waite back in the day. I love this deck. It's elfish, reminds me of the Legend of Zelda. And then there's another deck that I use called the Ethereal Visions deck by an artist named Matt Hughes.
Hmm.
And it's just a prettier, more profound version of the Rider Waite. It's like almost not like comic book, but like science fiction fantasy artwork, but in the same vein as the Rider Waite. I think the deck that you use is the deck that you understand. The only thing that I don't recommend is what they call a pip deck. So most tarot decks were pip decks until the year 1491. The first documented tarot card deck that had 78 images was the Solobuska deck. Before that, all of the images in tarot were only on the major arcana and the court cards, page through king. The numbered cards were just numbers of whatever symbol it was. So if it was the seven of pentacles, it would be seven coins. And that's it. As a intuitive reader, you can't get anything from a card that doesn't have an image on it. What's it telling you? What's the story there? There isn't any. So whatever deck you use, if you're beginning and you want to try doing it through an intuitive method like this, any intuitive method, get a deck with 72 images on it. Make sure that it's not a pip deck.
Okay, great advice.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want our viewers, all the viewers, to just know, or guidance you want to give them about tarot, or anything that you want to share before we close?
You know, when we look at you, we see a beautiful spiritual woman. Like you would know that you were into this stuff by looking at you. If Kevin and I were sitting down, be like, all right, guys, let's have a beer and talk sports, and then that's it. You wouldn't be, you would be shocked when words like tarot and sound bowls come out of our mouths. And I think that what I'm hoping Rock and Soul Tarot does is shows that A, there are more men and there are more people outside of the stereotypical spiritual person that are into this stuff. It's okay to believe in it. And you can have a language like music, like rock music, be a vehicle to express it. You don't have to get into all the witchy stuff. You don't have to light incense and candles and wear flowy gowns. You can put on your rock band t-shirts, you could talk music, and you could still have a conversation about this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's really important.
Yeah,
you relate to that?
Totally. It's all interconnected anyway, right? I mean, we're all in this big soup of reality and manifestation, and where you are now will determine your future. You know, where you are, where you were doesn't necessarily matter. It's all there right in front of us. And going on this route and looking at tarot and other things that might help you navigate this, it's definitely not for just one kind of person. It's for everybody.
At
Yeah.
the end of the book, the final chapter is a story about sports, about my Mets and my grandmother, and how my grandmother came through in a Mets reference. And I did that on purpose because I want to show, yeah, this book's about music, but anything can connect us. You got a guy wearing your favorite sports team. I mean, you guys, you know, you're far from Long Island. If I come to visit you and I see a guy wearing a Mets hat, I'm shooting right towards that guy. I want to know. You
Yeah.
know, that's the connection. Anything can connect us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sports is kind of like it's kind of like music in that there's an esoteric part of it. There's like an intangible part of sports that is representative of life on a whole and our experience. It's like music. It's an art form. It's a representation of what's going on in sort of a microcosm.
It
So
invokes emotion.
yeah, exactly.
All right,
Emotion.
one more question, and we'll let you go. Um, would you be willing, I don't know if you do this sort of thing, but would you be willing to sort of be our in-house go-to reader? And every now and then when the world looked like going upside down, like do a 10-minute, like we're going to check in with Brian about what the heck's going on in the world?
I would be honored.
Yay. Okay,
We
that would
would
be
be honored
awesome.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
All right. Love you, Brian. So glad you're in our lives and you're out there
Right.
doing the work you do.
Thank you so much. The
Where can
book
they
is
get the book?
available Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. You could pre-order it now. It's available August 6th. You you can get a paperback version, and then for 99 cents more, you can get the ebook.
Okay. And how can they find you how can they check out your radio show?
So you could find me personally on Instagram at Orlando0616. If you ever wanted to check out 94.3 The Shark, it's a real New York grumpy attitude, but if anybody is into checking it out, it's 6 a.m. Eastern Time. We have an app. You can go to the 94.3 The Shark app and download it, and then you can stream us anytime, anywhere.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Till next time.
Love you guys. Thank you.
You, man.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, that was wonderful. You never know how an interview is going to go with someone, and that was just amazing. I enjoyed everything Brian said, and I'm sure that you did too, because he's a wonderful personality and so much fun and genuine from the heart.
A gift to the world, indeed. Brian's one of a kind, and a great guy and a good friend. So remember, next week, Mike Sloat will be here to talk guitar. Yeah, we're really looking forward to that.
Yeah. Subscribe, hit like, leave some comments. We got to build that algorithm so we can keep growing and bringing you more great guests and building our technology. And yeah. So thank you very much for being here with us, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
See you next week. Bye.